Hey, welcome to Mega64 Movie Club. We want to establish a few rules on today's show. There's been a recent development with online video terms of service where we are not allowed or permitted to use several words, and we're going to say them up front in a purely educational format so that you won't hear these words again.
Right.
They are
What?
virgin.
Oh my god.
Incel. And I can't even say the last one. I don't want to get this taken down.
Shit.
That was
The
it.
last
No,
one is shit.
no, you can say that. No, that's fine. What's wrong with that?
They love shit.
Yeah,
Oh.
that one's fine.
Huge fan of shit.
Well,
Anyway,
anyway,
I just want to
now we've
establish.
got that out of the way.
I just want to establish some rules here.
Yeah.
You can, if you want to know what the word is, you can watch the. I don't know. They did this way better in the movie.
Yeah, dude.
They have a way of getting around certain words, which that is what we're talking about today. Is the ultimate movie about skirting censorship.
Yeah.
I can't think of a more definitive film about defying the odds of FCC censorship than Howard Stern Private Parts. This was your choice, Sean, yeah?
It was. Let me start with the hey now, because that's what he would do.
Yeah.
So I feel like, yeah, this is my choice. And I said last week I chose it because he re-signed with Sirius for 5 more years. I thought he was going to retire, so I'm glad he didn't. And this is a movie that I would watch on HBO when I was a kid, and I loved it. There's boobs, obviously, but then the story itself I thought was good at the time. So that was me. I don't know if you guys have seen it before or if I don't know. But
when I had seen it on TV, I've praised this before, but I saw it on like USA Network. And it was censored, but I said this before. They did a great censored version of it where Howard Stern actually got involved because he knew it was going to get butchered, and he actually like green screened himself to where he'd appear on the screen, like a woman is in the scene and then it stops and he would walk on. Hey, all right, guys. Her top blows off in this scene. I'm telling you, you got to see this. Go rent the video. This is good, but go rent the video. And I thought that was so funny. I was not super familiar with Howard Stern. I saw this as a kid, so I thought that was so funny. And then that got me to watch his E! Show when my parents weren't awake. So,
dude, that's
my experience.
That was the shit. The E! Show, like I would like religiously watch the E! Show.
Yeah.
I had a TV in my room at night, and I would sneak it, and I wasn't supposed to know about Howard Stern, but I knew.
Yeah. So I guess maybe should we for those who maybe are too young to really have seen all that or don't know, I guess we should introduce who Howard Stern is. But
I guess, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Are there people? What do you guys think? Are there a lot of people maybe who might not know, or is that pretty commonplace at this point?
Yeah, go ahead. Introduce him.
Howard is really kind of a radio extraordinaire, like big radio personality, dating back to what, like the 70s? I mean, is that kind of when he started?
Yeah, he started in the late 70s, and then I think but he was always pushing the limit and seeing what you could get away with and not get away with.
Yeah.
And he's been going. I think everyone knows Howard Stern. Just like it's like if you know radio at all, you think of Howard Stern. It's like hockey, you think of Wayne Gretzky. He's like, like there's like some names that you just like Michael Jordan is like everyone knows that, Yeah. I feel like everyone at least is familiar with who he is. Maybe not, they haven't heard a show.
Yeah.
But they know of him.
But yeah, his radio was always super edgy and pushing the boundaries of stuff. He would get guests on and get them to talk about stuff that maybe they wouldn't have on any other show. But again, it always hit that boundary where, are we allowed to talk about this? And so he was a constant battle with the FCC until only 2006 or 7 when he finally raised the middle finger to terrestrial radio and went to Sirius XM where he could say whatever he wanted. So that's kind of where he's residing now. And as Sean said, he signed up for another 5 years. So we'll have at least five more years of that show.
5 more years.
But somewhere in there in the mid to late 96 was this when the movie came
Yeah.
out? Was when he released a movie based on his book that he had released. Kind of a biography of himself, Howard Stern, Private Parts. Is that a acceptable?
That's pretty good.
Catch up. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like this movie, when it was announced, everyone rolled their eyes except for Howard Stern fans.
Yeah.
But everyone was like, "This fucking sucks. This guy sucks. He can't make a movie. Like he's a radio guy."
Yeah.
And then I feel like, I mean, maybe you guys disagree, but I feel like everyone was surprised when they left the theater. I think he surprised everyone with this movie.
Well, I was just surprised. Again, I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it as a kid. But I was surprised they all played themselves.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to be like that. Like, he played himself, and everyone else in his story, his co-stars on the radio show, they play themselves. I didn't expect that. And I think that, yeah.
Who they lined up to play Howard Stern if he wasn't going to do it?
No.
You want to take a guess? Or do you not care?
I have no idea. Who?
What's his name? The pianist.
No. Jeff Goldblum.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Which I could see, honestly.
Yeah.
I can see Jeff Goldblum with like some long hair, like a long curly wig, pulling off Howard Stern in this movie.
Yeah, I could actually see that. That's not okay.
Fun fact. How about that?
Yeah.
That would have been fun.
That would have been fun.
I think he should have let Jeff Goldblum do it.
Yeah, But here's the thing: is like the movie is silly, and the fact that he calls attention to it the whole time as a narrator works for me. And we'll go into the plot in a second. But like the part where he's supposed to be in, I think, like a freshman in college, and he's playing himself, and he calls attention like, "I know I look old here, but you just gotta use him, suspend disbelief." Like that kind of stuff works in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the same detail he put into the censored version on TV when he's like, I know this is cut up, but rent the video, like that's something that I think is endearing about him, is acknowledging when shit is stupid, and it's like, all right, that's fine.
Which makes it really, I realized you get a pass. Yeah. By him doing that, no one questions it. It's like, well, he already called attention to it, so I guess, here we go.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Maybe we should get into the plot.
Maybe.
Of what there is.
Okay. Let's do it. I took some notes here. We can like run through the plot.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to say my dad rented this in like 1997 or 1998. I think this was the first experience I had with Howard Stern.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah, and I must have been like 12 years old. So I definitely thought this was a great movie when I was a kid. I don't know if I still feel that way now that I'm an adult.
Sure.
But the movie was produced by Ivan Reitman.
Yeah.
Not directed by him, but I feel like you can still kind of feels like an Ivan Reitman movie, Yeah. It has that quality, that storytelling quality, and comedy to it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I mean, there's things that maybe hold up and don't hold up in terms of 20 whatever years later, but I think I'm still impressed. So I go back and forth on it, but I'm still very impressed they all played themselves. I still can't believe that made it to a theater.
Movie.
Like that just seems like that would be stopped. But anyway, so that part impresses me. But anyway.
I guess we could talk about it later. The movie had a $30 million budget, made like $41 million. So, it's kind of an offbeat hit. I don't know if you would even say that was a hit, but
I think it was number one for a week.
Now.
Yeah, it was number one, I think, in America for maybe a week, maybe two. So nothing like, it didn't like destroy anything. And I really feel like this has become like a cult movie.
Yeah.
But like, this is not a mainstream deal.
Yeah.
All right. So Howard Stern's Private Parts. The movie opens with Howard Stern behind the scenes at MTV Movie Awards, portraying his character Fart Man. That's a superhero that farts. He's Fart Man. He farts.
That's about it.
You guys want to add anything to that?
Oh yeah, you're gonna see Howard's gross butt.
Yeah.
Right out the gate they show you his ass.
Right.
But I really like. I remember him doing that stunt at the awards, which wasn't it with Luke Perry? It wasn't with John
It was.
Stamos.
And they
Okay.
said Luke Perry was going to do it,
Uh,
but he thought it was going to hurt his image to be in a movie with Howard Stern, so he decided not to do it.
oh, that's
And
great.
then later said he regretted it, not being
Oh,
in it.
well. Well, all I was going to say was I remember that stunt. And again, what makes me appreciate Howard Stern is the humanity he'll still show and still like that bit was stupid. And he could have doubled down on there's me doing this fucking hilarious bit. But I wasn't always this funny. It's not that. You see the whole walk of shame from him doing that bit. And then he's walking backstage and it's just an endless string of celebrity cameos as they're all like, Jesus Christ. Like, I love that bit. And the fact that they will acknowledge, my humor is fucking stupid. But anyway.
Yeah, I feel like that's some of the influence by like Ivan Reitman producing it, right?
Yeah.
I feel like he called up all his buddies and said, "Look, we're making a Howard Stern movie. We need this scene in here."
Yeah.
Howard Stern starts with a narration pretty early, which basically is the crux and philosophy of this movie, which is that Howard Stern feels like he's misunderstood and has always been misunderstood throughout his whole life. That's kind of what this movie is about. And while he is saying this, he's in an airport imagining a woman's boobs expanding so big her like shirt is popping open.
Right.
A little bit of irony. There's the comedic genius at work that nobody seems to be able to understand.
Yeah.
And then we get his like, go ahead.
When that starts as a kid, again, that was hilarious. And now it's like, this is so fucking lame. Like, that's so lame.
Yeah, it is.
Kind of how I feel about a lot of this movie.
Yeah.
Howard Stern, he goes into his life story, and I think this is kind of the best part of the movie. His dad works at a radio station, and he sees his dad like yelling at a DJ, and this makes him fall in love with show business.
Mm-hmm.
He like just likes to see the authority, I guess, his dad has over this guy.
Yeah.
Then we see some great scenes like Howard Stern making some puppets fuck. His mom tells his friends that his whole family is half black because he doesn't want them to be racist or think that they're racist. But then again, like Howard Stern kind of is racist in this movie, but that's kind of like the comedy from the 90s.
That's what I thought too, is like this movie would be very different if made today. But but his show back then was that, and it, honestly, like he has even said like, I got away with it because Robin was my co-host. And that was like, I for some reason got a pass, even though maybe I shouldn't have.
Yeah, it was like edgy late 90s, stuff, yeah.
Sure. I mean, but even this movie doesn't shy away from like all throughout his career. That's kind of been like a staple of his comedy. But just being edgy, in general, is Howard Stern's shtick, and maybe he like kind of invented that. Who knows? I also like. So then we get to him in college, and I also thought it was pretty funny how he just plays himself.
Yeah.
When I saw this when I was a kid, I didn't realize that he was like too old to be in college. But now that I'm older, it is very clear.
Yeah. I never had a thought when I first saw it either. I was just like, okay, yeah, man, ugly guy, but all right, great. Like he was made up to look goofy, but never made that connection.
I looked up a picture of Howard Stern from 1979. I think he went to college in Boston. Mm-hmm. He looks exactly the way he does in the movie.
Oh, really?
Kind of like Weird Al. With big glasses and like a short fro,
Yeah.
Funny, him and Weird Al had the same evolution from fro to long hair.
That's true. Whoa.
And casual racism. No.
Yeah. That might just be more the Stern side, maybe. Howard Stern becomes a radio DJ, and like I thought it was really funny the scene where he drops the needle on his record player. He drops his all the tapes on the record player. You know what I'm talking about?
Derek, that is my favorite scene of the whole movie. He was going like that. That killed me then. It kills me now. Like that is so funny to me.
I just feel like that had to be something that really happened because it's such like I don't know, inside the radio booth detail. Like who would ever think of that? I thought that was really funny.
So good.
At this point in the movie, Howard Stern meets his wife, Allison, who is, kind of like the girl he worships all throughout this movie.
Yeah.
This is in my opinion, the greatest comedy bit of this entire film.
Right? Yeah.
Is the worshiping of this woman who came into his life and saved him, and everything will be great as long as he's got her, and as long as I've really paid attention to Howard Stern, he has been divorced from her. So that was always,
I believe was cheating on her the whole time while filming this movie. So
is that I didn't know that.
Now that isn't. I think that they're definitely going through a divorce during the movie.
Oh, it was actually during the movie. Wow.
That doesn't surprise me. This whole movie is like, oh, I'm a decent guy because I would never cheat on my wife. And I'm thinking, like, that's bullshit. All of this movie is like a propaganda spin piece to make Howard Stern seem more decent than he really is.
That is true, for sure. And, I also, while they're doing this movie, they were still working their 5 days a week at the radio show. So they would all work in the morning from they get up at 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
They work until 11, and then they went straight to the set and started shooting. So he wasn't even home for months while doing this. I don't know. I can see why that didn't work out.
Damn. Yeah. I did not know that. That's crazy.
Well, he meets his wife, Allison, in college, and they make a movie together. Because apparently Howard Stern was a filmmaker back then. Howard Stern, I have a note here. He's super perverted and apparently always has been.
Yeah.
But I still feel like, was he really I say this movie feels embellished. I also feel like it's embellished the other way too. They kind of don't show him being as decent of a person as I'm sure he has to be,
Sure.
All of this movie just feels very fictitious, It's a good movie, but I wonder how real it really is.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. I mean, there's one side of it for sure, and that's it. Yeah. So, even it's so not cheesy, but it's sleazy, I guess, because they have Allison being interviewed in the movie, although it's really the actress, but it's that's what they told her to say. What did the real Allison have to say?
Yeah.
If they asked her for a quote and then she read that quote, that's something. Maybe they did that, but if they, otherwise.
And I don't even blame Howard Stern because I feel like Ivan Reitman is the producer, making sure it's an entertaining movie, and so it's the Howard Stern movie, and it's a work of fiction. That's how I view it, and I think everybody should kind of, keep that in mind when they're watching this.
Yeah, when I see, just me personally, and this goes in general, when I see movies like this, I always take it totally with a grain of salt. With this kind of setup, you're going to try to make the most entertaining movie possible. It's based on real things, but
right,
it ain't a documentary. So yeah, I knew it was going to be all right, they fluffed this up. It was the same thing when I saw the movie about the woman who made Mary Poppins. It was they kind of switch these things around. It's I'll read about it once the movie's over. If it's a good movie, I'll read the real stuff. But I don't know. Anyway,
so this movie has these interstitials in it with Gary Delabate. This is the only time Gary appears in the movie.
Yeah.
And he's basically always trying to convince girls to get naked for the Howard Stern movie, just for these interstitials.
Yeah.
I bring it up because I think the first one happens at this point in the movie.
It does. And those, I guess, were all improv. That wasn't ever written. That was real stuff they were using. And I guess one of the people is Camille Grammer. They try and get the top off, which is Kelsey Grammer's wife. I guess she's now on The Real Housewives. I don't watch those shows.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah.
Which one?
But I think she's the girl in the green bikini. I think that's Camille Grammer, Kelsey Grammer's wife.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of those felt like the the E Howard Stern show, that era of television.
Definitely.
Just super skeevy.
Yeah, the husband trying to convince his wife to take off the top. You said you'd do this, and she's still naked, and she's in the car not wanting to be naked. It's I don't know if I should be seeing this. It's so weird.
Yeah, and Gary's thanks for nothing. We're done here. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
All right. So then after the interstitials kick in, Howard is like at his radio station, and his boss tells him he sucks at his job. He's pretty like, I don't know. He doesn't want to fire him, so he makes him station program director, which Howard Stern is pretty good at. Makes a lot of money. But then he's asked to fire a DJ, a guy with 3 kids, a guy named Dickie Davis, and this is the downside of being a manager. You have to fire people and kind of be the boss. And Howard Stern is like incapable of firing this guy, so he quits the job. Which again, like, I'm sure Howard Stern has no problem firing people, but in this movie, he is incapable of doing it because he believes in the little man.
Yeah.
So he takes a job at a smaller a smaller radio station, and he meets another DJ named Fred. And I guess Fred is still on the show.
Yep.
And this was Howard Stern's first like long-term companion.
It is, and I think Fred is like a legendary person because he's been there since before Robin. He's been there forever.
Yeah.
But you hardly ever hear from Fred. But he plays all the sound effects. So like, he's the genius when it comes to that. But I really enjoyed how he barely has any lines in this movie. Like, he's in the whole thing, and he has like 5 lines because he doesn't talk in the show. That's just not his bit.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I always knew this guy named Fred was like around somewhere. I wasn't sure what his role was. For people who don't watch Howard Stern or don't listen to Howard Stern, there's like a whole crew at Howard Stern. Howard's the main guy, and Robin and Gary are like the second in charge, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
And then there's these other guys like Sal and Richard.
Right.
And we're not even going to talk about the Whack Pack, which is a bunch of, like abnormal guests who frequently are on the show.
Yeah, it's callers who eventually were so weird they call them the Whack Pack, and they just became part of the lexicon.
Yeah, but then there's Fred, who just seems like a very background character. So I never knew he was like Howard's first partner and first collaborator.
But you listen to the show, and there's 10,000 times you'll hear Eric the actor calling her act like that's Fred playing those. Like, Fred is always playing something.
Yeah, he is kind of the background maestro of the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's funny. Sure. All right. Let me find where I was here. So I have a note here that Howard Stern has to like do a radio ad, but he botches it and like fucks it all up. But he ends up like showing his own personality and apologizing for it, and starts to find like his first bit of success as a radio DJ. So this whole movie is like trying to conform to what he thinks a radio DJ should be, and kind of about him discovering his own way.
Yeah. I mean, it does start his voice, and he's like, "Hey, welcome to WCCZ," and it's like super cheesy, which is not, but that's like what he thought you had to be. Which they played old tapes. Yeah, they played old tapes of his show, and he does sound like that. Like, that's what he did. So it just didn't work.
Yeah, he would do bits like, "Hey, we have Ringo Starr in the studio here. What are you gonna play for us? Wipeout?" And then he just like bangs on a drum really bad. It's some of the worst. I actually commend them for highlighting how unfunny he was in the beginning. Yeah. To me, this is like the best part of the movie because there's actually a journey here. Like, here's a dorky guy who just loves radio and he sucks at it. How does he become so successful?
Right.
There's a second half of the movie where he's already successful and then remains successful and becomes more so, which is kind of boring in my opinion.
Sure.
Anyway, so Howard like meets he's starting to get famous, and he takes this celebrity actress to a movie premiere where she ends up seducing him and falling in love. I don't know, taking him back to his hotel and trying to like basically get him to cheat on his wife with her. And this is where Howard like kind of establishes his motif throughout the movie, like, I'm not going to do this. But this is also go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to bring up some behind the scenes stuff on this that I remember him talking about. But I don't know if it's the appropriate time.
Go ahead.
But he talks frequently on his show about how he could not do scenes like this without getting a boner. And this scene in particular, he talked about, he's like, I don't know how these professional actors do it, you know, and they try to be professional. I don't know I'm not professional, I guess. I don't know. I tried so hard. But I guess in the scene, like the reason he's like hunched over and like kind of hiding, whatever, he's like, I had a boner in this scene. Like, I'm not an actor. I'm not prepared for this stuff. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Anyway, he talks frequently about how difficult making movies was because he couldn't prevent that. So
that's hilarious.
You got to go with it. I mean, that's the natural thing. As an actor, you would have a boner in that situation. Clearly.
Yeah. Method acting.
Yeah, duh. So like this is kind of like Howard Stern's sexual awakening, and how it's presented in the movie. This is like, oh, now I'm a perv. This is how he became perverted.
Perv origins.
How he realized he liked naked ladies. His wife finds some undies in his car, you know, because he got out of the bathtub and they were soaked. So he took them off. He hid them in the car. His wife finds them. And now they like want to have a separation, you know, because she doesn't trust him. So he goes to Detroit to like, you know, they separate and he gets a new job in a new part of town.
Yeah.
Or in a new town, rather. He kind of hits a low point in his life. You know, it feels like it's all over for him. He's split up from his wife. He's at this radio station, but it sucks. Everybody there is mean to him. There's this guy who's the Duke of Rock and Roll who teases him like, "What's up, Big Bird?"
Yeah.
So he has like a mental break, and he does this bit where he does this quote "kill the white man" bit, which, you know, honestly, it's not very funny. It's not a very funny bit. But it's more of like a punk rock, you know, anti-authority, fuck you kind of bit. So it's more like cool than it is funny. And when I was watching it, I feel like this is the charm of Howard Stern. If he's not the funniest guy, he's cool enough to pull this stuff off to where it's still entertaining.
Right.
You know, sometimes it's not so funny what he's saying. You're just like kind of amazed that he's saying it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have a note that Howard Stern is ultimately kind of cool in spite of himself.
Right.
He's trying to be funny, but, you know, he fails a lot. So management hates him. Allison, his wife, comes back to him. So, you know, Howard Stern's like a changed man now. He's more successful, but he's still misunderstood. For some reason, he visits a mental hospital. I don't remember why, but he does the Frisbee bit.
She works with people. I forget the term. Like people, I think he calls them freaks, but that's not what I'm going to call them. But it's like mentally handicapped people or something like that. People that like need help. So she helps them. And there's a scene that like is like stuck in my brain of him throwing a Frisbee at a guy's face, and like the guy doesn't flinch and it hits him right in the eyes.
Yeah,
like, I don't.
The Frisbee bit.
What's that?
It's the Frisbee bit. It was in like all the commercials for this movie.
They showed that. I have looked into it. I don't know how they filmed it. Like, was it a foam thing? Like, I don't know how they did it. That guy didn't flinch, and it's always fascinated me how he did.
That is kind of interesting.
I don't know.
It's real. You know, I'm going to say it's real. What a wager.
One of us should call into the Stern Show now and be like, yo, how'd they shoot that? I mean, no one else is
Honestly, why not? Yeah, why not?
So Howard Stern quits his job. He decides he's not going to hold back. He's just going to say what's on his mind. It's a big theme throughout this movie. He moves to Washington, D.C., gets a new job, and that's where he meets Robin, who is a newscaster. And he basically just like talks to her about his sexcapades and all the freaky stuff he does, you know, in between shows. And he really like becomes the Howard Stern that we know and love today. You know, the modern era of Howard Stern is born at this point. The station hates him. But he's like killing it at the radio station. He's becoming like the biggest person in Washington, D.C. He eventually becomes so big that he's able to hire Fred from wherever they were up north and bring his friend in. And so he starts putting a crew together. That's how powerful he's getting. And then there's like a powerful point in the movie. It's like a life-changing point in the movie for Howard Stern. In his words, he says he discovers lesbians as like the ultimate form of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
His words, not mine. So
I'm sure all lesbians watching this are really loving just their representation in this film. I know that they're.
I'm sure they are.
Is it any surprise that that is like Howard Stern's like giant turning point? Like this is what really made me famous and saved my career.
Yeah.
But you know, it really is funny when I was a kid and would turn on the E show. And again, for the people who don't know, he had a show on the E network, and it was just they televised his radio show. That's all it was. But 99% of the times I turned it on, it was something to do with lesbians. So I mean, it's not a surprise. That was a major point in the film. So
this is a major point in the film. Mm-hmm. But immediately after this, his wife Allison gets pregnant and then has a miscarriage. And Howard Stern does a bit about it on the show. I watched this part is Howard. Ago.
What's that?
Oh, I was going to say, I watched this last week, and I'm trying to remember what this bit was, and I can't recall it.
It was him talking to God, and God said he failed, and that the baby's with him now.
And this scene is interesting to me, or why I've always liked it is how it's Howard at his most likable. You know, it's you know, you hadn't quite sympathized with him before, but now you do when the miscarriage bit.
But see, this is the thing, like that I do appreciate is like he did that, and it sucked.
Yeah.
And then they made it into a movie. You know, like even Robin's like, I don't know if you should be doing this. You know, like
they at least it was a thing that happened, and they put it in the framework of the movie and how it didn't work.
Right, and how like he found out how he could go too far.
Yeah.
I don't know. I read it a completely different way, honestly.
Okay, how'd you read it?
The theme of this movie is Howard Stern. He feels like there's an expectation to be one way, and all throughout his life, he's meeting new levels of that expectation. Time and again, he's being challenged, and only when he sticks to his own guns and does what he feels is right and expresses what he thinks, despite what anybody else thinks, does he find success. Yes, his wife gets mad at him about doing this, and it is inappropriate, maybe. But he says to her, the only way I'm going to be successful is if I have no filter. If I am giving my entire life into the microphone and I'm not worrying about who's judging me, whether it's my wife, my boss, anybody.
Yeah.
So after this moment, like he doesn't change. It's not like he goes, you're right, I'm not going to do that. Like if anything, he doubles down on, I'm going to be saying this stuff and nobody's going to stop me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's
you could kind of see, I don't know. I could definitely see that where it is portrayed in a way of like, you know, it's got to be all bets are off, you know, but they also do frame it in a way that there are repercussions. I could kind of see it from both sides on that. I see that.
This is the most interesting part of this movie because it's Howard Stern having to make a decision between do I want to be a family man or do I want to be like Howard Stern, the world's greatest entertainer?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think in this movie he chooses Howard Stern, world's greatest entertainer, but he tries to like walk that line of I'm still a family man.
He does. And even like, I mean, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but like even at the ending, it ends with him and his family, but it's like, none of this is real. You know, like you were off doing this movie and this radio show to make this, you're not the family man. You're not.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier too. They don't show everything in this movie. And I feel like even with this whole part of the movie, Howard Stern never gets emotionally upset about anything in this movie. He never cries. He never really gets like super sad. You know, this is like it's a Howard Stern comedy movie. So even this part is like, you know, I got to do what I got to do. This is what the people want.
Yeah.
So they reconcile. Howard Stern gets a job at New York. The men who hire him in New York are fired before he arrives because, you know, Howard Stern has the worst reputation in America. And the guys at NBC are like, who hired this guy? You're fired.
Right.
They're super scared of what he's going to do. He's a loose cannon on the radio. So they put Paul Giamatti in charge of like taming him. Paul Giamatti, whose character, I don't know the name of the character. In this movie, he's referred to as Pig Vomit.
Pig Vomit. That's the only name I know.
Yeah. Which is confusing on the radio, and I guess he said that the lawyers were scared because they called him Pig Virus on the air back in the day, but they didn't want him to sue them. They wasn't sure if he looked like such an asshole. They thought maybe if we say Pig Virus, maybe the guy will really sue us. We're gonna call it Pig Vomit in the movie, which I don't think it really would have mattered. Honestly, it's not his real name, but
pretty smart. Got to protect yourself.
That's weird. I never knew that. I just knew this.
Yeah. So if you ever hear him on the radio talking about him, he always says Pig Virus. That was his actual name.
Wow, that's
nickname.
crazy. His real name, given name.
Yeah. So their first meeting, Paul Giamatti is the best part of this movie, and even though I don't particularly like this part of the movie compared to the first half, this is where Howard Stern is just on top and stays on top.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti plays this great character of somebody who's trying to take him down. Who can take down Howard Stern? Maybe like a corporate guy. And that's Paul Giamatti in this movie, and I think he's awesome. This was the first time I saw Paul Giamatti in any movie.
This is one of his first roles.
Yeah. And he's great. His first meeting with Howard Stern is trying to teach Howard Stern how to talk. It's this great power struggle where he tells him, you have to do the call WNBC.
What? Yeah, that part's a mystery. Oh my God, who cares?
Well, it was the 80s, and that stuff was important back then.
I guess so.
Branding and what it was. So Howard Stern, and by the way, if you didn't already love this episode because of our lesbian discussion, you're gonna love this next scene. Howard Stern does a gay character specifically to say the WNBC part as wacky as possible.
Yeah.
It's highly offensive. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sitting here thinking like, what from the scene can I even repeat to describe kind of like some of the humor they're going through? But I'm, nothing, frankly.
Seriously, to get real. I know some people are going to be like, yo, you're talking like you're all woke and all that stuff. But for real, every time I watch one of these movies from this era, from like 96 to like 99 or so, there's a lot of movies I love from that era. And every time I revisit them, it really hits me like, wow, gay people, whatever, the gay community was really just our entertainment in that. You know what I mean? Like, I remember loving Chasing Amy and thinking, wow, the dialogue in this movie is so good. And I still think like there's good dialogue in it, but I revisited it recently and it's like, it just doesn't matter. It's like, here's a gay character, but this dude, he'll turn her the other way. And that, it's like, man, you're really just like a plot device.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty crazy to have distance from it now and just see, you know what I mean? Because if I would have said that to myself 10 years ago, even I would have been like, what? No, come on. No, this is a sincere, heartfelt movie. But yeah, I watch it now and it's like, oh man.
I think for context, we should establish a timeline where we are watching this movie in 2020.
Yeah.
The movie was made in 1996.
Yeah.
And is depicting events that occurred in like 1983.
Yeah, exactly.
We are looking through a long lens back at a comedy bit that happened a long time ago and then was retold a long time ago in a movie, and now we're discussing
We're looking at an artist painting a picture of an artist painting a picture of an art. Anyway.
And we're not going to like everything we see.
Yeah. So totally. But it's just interesting. I don't know. I just have this thought with movies specifically from that time, that there's always like a gay character for our own entertainment kind of I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. On that note, it's just with comedy in general, it's constantly evolving, and something is fresh until it becomes cliche, and then it's cliche until it becomes unacceptable.
Yeah.
That's how I feel with comedy. And a lot of the stuff from these movies in the 90s was cliche then and is unacceptable now.
Yeah.
Sure.
But you're going to see stale shit no matter what you watch 20 years later. Like it's going to That's inevitable. And I think it's always weird when it's like, no, everything is just as good. You know, it's like, I don't know. That's not how kind of how comedy works. Even regardless of it, is it offensive or not? I think ideas get stale over a certain amount of time.
Dude, I mean, like, look back to our early stuff. Like, I would never make these jokes anymore.
No, but even just in general, though, there are certain comedy ideas that I think, you know, after so many years, it's like, okay.
Yeah, because honestly, it's stale and not funny and sucks, honestly. So
I think this scene is a perfect example. In 1983, maybe this was fresh.
Yeah.
In the movie, in 1996, maybe it was a little cliche. And then here we are in 2020, and it's like, this is not going to fly.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, that's kind of in a nutshell this whole movie and a lot of movies, which is why it's worth mentioning it in this little podcast we're doing here.
Yeah, just
and if you want to keep talking about it, we can, but we can move on.
Yeah.
So then Howard gets busted by Paul Giamatti and gets a list of words you cannot say on the radio. Basically, you know, very relatable, as Rocco was talking about at the beginning of this episode. Right. You know, sometimes people just don't like certain words for certain reasons. They can't be broadcast. So he does. This next bit in the movie like blew my mind when I was 12 years old. He does like the dirty word match game.
Yeah.
You know, they say like you can't say fuck, you can't say shit, you can't say piss, you can't say cock on the radio. So he does this game where he's like, all right, guess the word, blank a doodle doo. And everybody has to go like, I think it's cock a doodle doo. Yep, that's right.
And then, you know, this is like Jackie, who used to be like a sidekick on his show. This is like his one bit in this movie because he was always the one like, I wrote it really big, so I got a big cock. You know, it's just
that's funny.
You know, and
Jackie the Joke Man.
And I know there's like dumb shit in the scene. And well, it's everything you just said. It's like, I know we're in the context of like, this is a fresh thing in the 80s, whatever. But I do still think this scene is endearing. Like, I think
this bit is still funny.
Yeah. It's like, yo, we're under 1980s guidelines. We're going to fuck with it. You know, whatever. It's
dirty words are, you know, those are eternally funny. You know who doesn't find it funny? Paul Giamatti, because he fires Robin. Because he can't fire Howard Stern. So that's how he punishes them. And so I don't know this has to be true. A person replaces Robin, somebody named Ross Buckingham.
Yeah, I don't know if this is true or not. Like I don't know if Robin was really fired. I'm not sure.
I believe I have the answer.
Oh,
I think this aspect of the movie was embellished for the movie. And this is a perfect example of what we were talking about. They were given like time off. Like, hey, you can't be doing this stuff. And I think they kind of sent everyone away. And there was uncertainty on like who's coming back and what are we even going to do when we do, you know? But when Howard returned, Robin returned. Like it wasn't like, you know, she was gone for a while or something like that. I think that was played up for the movie.
Okay.
From what I know.
Well, all right. Well, this Ross Buckingham guy is, you know, he's a wet blanket. He's just so boring. He doesn't gel well with the other guys. Howard Stern needs to get Robin back. He ends up calling Paul Giamatti's wife and putting her on the radio. She's doing all kinds of crazy shit on the radio. I'm seeing if I have any notes here, but basically, like, you know, broadcasts a fight that he has with the bosses at NBC, which I think apparently that was real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And I don't know if that audio is available on the internet, but I think
I don't know. I looked into that. I'm sure it is.
I think I tried to look it up, and I found an article that was like linking to it, but I didn't actually like follow the rabbit hole. But that might be available if anybody wants to track it down.
Yeah.
You know, this is where the movie kind of like peters out. Howard offends his wife. People love Howard and they listen to him. People who hate Howard listen to him even more.
Yeah.
Kenny takes Howard's show off and Howard confronts him on air. He trashes NBC on television, but eventually he just becomes number one. Just becomes the number one radio DJ in New York despite everything.
Yeah.
When that happens, Paul Giamatti's like, you know what? You're number one now. I'm going to be your best friend. And he says, fuck off. They have Howard Stern Day in New York City. And the movie ends kind of like Forrest Gump. I think they ripped it off from Forrest Gump. He's like on an airplane. Oh, I've been telling this beautiful woman this story this whole time. And
Yeah.
I could bang her. I really could. But I'm not going to because I'm a decent guy.
I love Allison.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it ends. It kind of wraps up quickly. Just a series of like radio bits.
I see what you're saying. I do feel like there is at the beginning there's an actual plot, and then by the end it's like, and it's over. I won.
Yeah.
It's over.
That what we're talking about now is my biggest issue with this movie, because I do think, there's things give and take with what we were mentioning earlier, and maybe some things don't land as well or whatever. But my biggest issue with this movie is honestly, I kind of like its trajectory, and then it's like a few interesting things and it ends. Like it kind of felt like I don't know, like lacking a major final. Like they go through these things and it just kind of abruptly ends. I don't know. I never felt totally satisfied with like, oh, okay, I guess that's it. All right. I don't know.
But yeah. I don't know. Overall, if we're done reviewing the movie, I still think it's better than it has any right to be. Like,
yeah.
Starring these people, it shouldn't be as good as it is, and I'm impressed with their acting, honestly.
Yeah, it should have. I totally agree. It should have sucked way worse. The fact that these radio personality, I mean, a lot of people are on radio for a reason. They're not going to be on camera. That's their thing, and that's what they do. Yeah. And the fact that this is starring radio personalities, they play themselves. They're not terrible somehow. And it's kind of charming in the face of all that. Like I said, it ends kind of like, the last act ends and I kind of just shrug. But for what it is, I still think it's a charming movie. I kind of like it. And it told the story of, again, with censorship and what was happening, especially in the late 90s when this came out with the V chip and all these things that were going on. Kind of a story about rebelling against the FCC and stuff was kind of interesting. And I thought, I thought it was a cool movie. I just, I guess it kind of, when it ends, I'm kind of like, okay. But yeah, I like it.
I actually think I agree with everything you're saying. The movie is better than it has a right to be. I think that's because of Ivan Reitman's influence, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Maybe.
And I think that they did find a core message here, which is, Howard Stern is going to be Howard Stern. And that is what's going to be his ticket to success,
Yeah.
And you kind of get to see how the problem is that Howard Stern had so much more of a career after this movie came out. So it was like, yep, you're right. Now you're successful.
Right.
Yeah.
He gets out of college, he kind of struggles, but then he finds success and then just gets more success and more success. And then,
if they continued making this movie or made a part 2, he would just get more rich and more successful, and that would be the end of the movie.
Yeah, and that's kind of where that's where I'm stuck at, is I'm like, I kind of wanted it to keep going or take me through another thing, but what would it be? I mean, it's like,
I guess, but I don't care to see that.
Honestly, like if it had been made 10 years later, I would have loved to have seen like them the morning of 9/11, like how they handled that, or and then the move away from terrestrial radio. But again, like this is all just more money for him. I don't. It's kind of like. Cool origin. I don't really know where to go after that, but yeah.
I feel like this movie, Howard Stern has a series of people who have authority over him. First, it's his parents, then it's the college, then it's his boss at the radio station, and then it's Allison, and then it's his bosses at NBC. And one by one, he kind of like breaks out of their hold.
Yeah.
And so this movie is just like, nobody can hold me back. I'm king of the world.
Yeah.
And then you see the movie poster, and he's like towering over New York City. So that is the movie here.
I mean, don't make no mistake. After this movie came out, he called himself king of all media. So
Right.
you know where his head is at. I mean, obviously, it's a joke, but
To
Still
that
there.
credit, on this podcast, we give movie reviews popcorn shakes,
yeah.
which is a reference to the Howard Stern show. So
That
Yeah.
is
as much as we criticize it, Howard Stern
Right.
is highly
that's
influential.
a good
Yeah.
point. That's a great point.
Yeah. For those who may not know, Eric the actor was an ongoing personality on that show, and he would review movies on his YouTube channel. They were unbearable, terrible reviews.
Terrible.
But he would give them popcorn shakes, like the things you would shake on pop. Like why rank with that? But we obviously
But
embraced it.
I love that. So
Yeah.
we stole that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we should disclose. I feel like I kind of love Howard Stern. And you
definitely
guys
love
might even be bigger fans.
I have always loved Howard Stern, and his show. People have said like his show stopped being good when this movie came out. I disagree. I think it's
Yeah.
great now. He is involved. He has changed, but so have I. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need him to make these same jokes. Like, do something new.
Yeah. And I
So
think that's what makes him. I think that's what makes him endearing and enduring, is that he is someone who, isn't just gonna like rehash that shit. And
like all the people who say that are the people who love that gag in the beginning when the girls start blowing up and like this dumb CG. Like that's people who are like, do that again. It's like
Yeah.
that wasn't funny then. It's definitely not funny now. Yes.
Yeah, it's shit evolves. Like you shouldn't be afraid of things evolving, humor evolving. He's not, and I think that's what makes it still work. And I think regardless of what you think of the rest of his show, I still think he is still right now the best interviewer
Yes.
around. Like he gets people to talk about really vulnerable stuff, and I think he's really talented at that and what he does. So yeah. I like him too. And so I enjoy this movie. It's not the best movie ever, but
No.
I think it's good, just, in spite of what it could have been, I guess.
I have
I'm going to give
one.
this movie some popcorn shakes.
Yeah, I have two more interesting facts, just to throw them out there before we do shakes. One is that Julia Louis-Dreyfus was going to be Allison. But
Okay.
She backed out, which I thought would have been weird if she was Allison. That would have been
Uh-huh.
weird. The last one is more if you're into Howard Stern, you would know this, but the scenes that were featured that he filmed in high school, of him in high school,
Yeah.
was done at Union High School in Union, New Jersey, which was the same school that Artie graduated from,
Whoa.
who was on the Howard Stern show. But what are the odds of that? That's weird.
Yeah. See,
Dang.
the Artie era could have been its own movie.
That's his own movie. Look into Artie later.
Artie and Eric the Midget. That's the sequel.
That's what I really want, to be honest with you. Yeah. All right, popcorn shakers.
So,
I'll start since
Eric the actor. I'm sorry. It goes
okay.
both ways.
It happens.
I'm going to give this movie 3 popcorn shakes out of 5.
That is exactly what I was going to do too. 3 popcorn shakes out of 5. Yeah, which again, it should have gotten 0. It should have been like a good luck Chuck situation, but
it should have failed. But yeah,
And Rock, what about you?
I think I'm same 3,
That's pretty solid.
solid 3.
I think this could be the first time we've all had the exact same rating.
No,
Maybe close.
no, the black hole I think was all 4s or 5s or something like that.
Yeah, there you go.
That was unanimous.
9 out of 15 for Howard Stern's Private Parts.
Yes.
Okay, so next episode of Movie Club is whose pick is it? Rocco's?
It's mine.
Rocco.
Yes. And, in the same way that we talked, it's a good segue because this episode we kind of talked about what things age well and what things don't, and what still is this kind of humor stale? Is this kind of thing not work anymore? I feel like I hear that all the time about a certain Christmas movie. So I figured let's do it just in time for the holidays. We'll do this on the next Movie Club. I want to watch Love Actually. Is a 2003 movie. I think it was big at the time, but it kind of found a second resurgence, maybe like 10 years after that. And I feel like now I hear about it a lot, but I think there's a lot of thoughts on both sides of the aisle of it. So I want to visit that and see what you guys think, and I want to revisit it for myself. It's been
I've never seen it, so I'll let you know.
Well,
Cool.
We'll see. It might be controversial, or it might not. I don't know. You'll have to see for yourself.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you next time
See you
on
next time.
Movie Club.
All right, see you next time, you simps.
Oh,
you bunch of incel
blocked from YouTube,
virgin
Twitch, wherever this is.
fuck.
I said the wrong platform. Should we got to do this whole stream over? Shit.
Oh, should we? I thought this was live. Hold on. Where's Stickum?